Hey everyone, this is my 1994 Honda XR600R that I completely restored from the frame up, including a complete engine top end and bottom end rebuild. Going to give you a little walk around of the bike and tell you about some of the things that I did to it. Essentially the entire bike has been gone through tip to tail, and everything that was a wear item was replaced, and a few parts have been upgraded as well here and there. So we'll start at the front. I did end up buying a new set of Warp 9 Elite wheels for the bike, and those came with new rotors. I rebuilt the front and rear master and slave brake cylinders with new pads. Up front, I'm running a Pirelli MT21 tire that's a 90 by 90 by 21. I ended up buying a new front fender for the bike. I think this one is from UFO Plastics. And then for the headlight, I went with a Chervis universal fit headlight in the white color to match the rest of the color theme for the bike. This headlight is super bright, and I did end up wiring it up for a high and low beam function with the switch on the handlebars. I went with LED turn signals up front as well. And then moving up to the controls, I went with a Pro Taper Contour Wyndham Bend handlebar. And the bike is keyed, so you can take the key out and nobody can actually start the bike. It's keyed power to the entire electrical system as well. So you'll see the vapor turns on, and then you get access to all the electrical function as well. So I'll show you how bright the headlight is. It is daylight right now, so it may be a little hard to tell, but this thing is insanely bright. Show you a little bit of how the blinkers look. They're actually quite bright. What else? I went with a G2 Tamer throttle tube. It just kind of makes the throttle actuation a little bit smoother and a little bit easier to handle, because this bike does have a ton of power. When I got the bike, it had these upgraded triple clamps, or at least the top clamp. So it's I couldn't figure out what brand it was, but it's some sort of obviously CNC billet aluminum piece. Most of the electrical was sourced from Rocky Mountain ATV, the Tusk branded stuff, and it really does work great. It's easy to integrate all together. So you've got a multifunction switch with a high and low and off for the headlight, of course blinkers, and then a horn which is integrated behind the headlight here. I guess moving on, I went with the large a Chervis gas tank. I think it's about 6 gallons, maybe a little bit over 6 gallons. Besides providing a lot of fuel, I think it actually looks really great aesthetically on this bike as well. It's somehow just more proportional than the stock tank was. In terms of the seat, I had a Moto Seat in Temecula put together this custom seat for me. It's kind of a gripper top, and it's got obviously these 3 ribs with the color scheme to kind of just match the original 1994 scheme of the bike. Moving down to the engine, so you'll see in the pictures the complete teardown that I did of this motor. Top and bottom end, it's got all new valves and springs and cotter pins, new piston and rings. The bore and the hone on the piston was done by Racer's Machine in Escondido. And just one note, the Vapor computer system is fully integrated with the bike, including a temperature sensor that I tapped onto the oil line on the head right there, so you do get some accurate engine temperatures on the computer system. The transmission was completely gone through. It was either the second or the third gear wasn't looking too good, so I was able to source some replacement transmission gears and freshen the whole thing up. Everything was built to the factory Honda specifications using the service manual from Honda. I'll show you a little bit of the other side. As well as the engine, obviously the carburetor was completely gone through as well and rebuilt. We ended up putting a JD jetting kit in the carburetor, and they really do their homework on those jet kits. The thing runs beautifully anywhere from sea level to all the way up to, I've had it up in Big Bear up to 7,000 foot elevation and haven't had to adjust anything, not even the pilot jet. So it's phenomenally jetted for a variety of altitudes. Obviously new chain, new sprockets. I think I'm running a 49 tooth sprocket in the rear. So it's actually geared quite well for off-road use, but then also on the road, you know, you can cruise 65 miles an hour very comfortably all day long. That's a Dunlop D606 rear tire. I think a 120 by 90 by 18. And then obviously new rear brake rotor, new pads. Again, the master and slave cylinders were rebuilt. It's got an FMF Power Core 4 exhaust on it, and I was able to source a spark arrestor for this exhaust. The tail light works with the brake function, both with the front and the rear brake. Let me see if I can kick my foot up here and show you. So that's with the rear brake. Reach up to the front brake. Yeah, so both brakes actuate the tail light. For the license plate, I went with Rocky Mountain Tusk has these little LED license plate bulbs, so they mount to a 3D printed custom mount that goes on the tail section. Admittedly, it's probably not the most durable thing for hard enduro, but it certainly looks great and it's a nice clean look. I was able to source a nice Honda tail bag off of an XR650L. Keep spare tools and parts and spark plugs and things in there. Overall, I put a lot of work into this bike. It's I think, a very handsome motorcycle. But the time has come to sell it and move on to the next thing. So I do already regret selling this thing, but not riding it very much anymore. It's actually only got about 500 miles on it since the rebuild. Ended up doing a oil change in the first 100 miles and actually just did another oil change about 10 miles ago. So it's freshened up, ready to go, and it's actually quite easy to start. With the bike jetted properly and the valves in spec, once you get the routine down, you know, getting the piston to top dead center and just giving one good hard swift kick, it fires up very easily. I'll do a second video to show you. But that's the bike. Thanks for your interest, and let me know if you have any questions.